Hello everyone and welcome to Now You're Playing with Power, a Nintendo podcast. That means it's about video games and the ones which we have played. I am your illustrious host NBZ, and joining me, as per the usual, it is Bally. Bally, how are you today?
Are you implying I'm less illustrious?
Well, I mean, there has to be an order, right? There's a hierarchy going on here.
That sounds fair enough.
Well, I mean, you know, it's how it works. Anyway, this is a Nintendo show, as you should know by this point. We've been churning it out long enough, and we're going to be talking about lots of stuff today. But as per usual, we're just going to kick it off with the stuff that we've been playing in the past couple of weeks. And Bally, I think that you should start things out. So why don't you tell us what you have been sinking your teeth into the past couple of weeks?
Well, a few days ago, I thought, you know what, I've not played Sacred Stones in a while. I keep failing on that one mission. I'm going to get out my 3DS and attempt that mission. And I attempted that mission and failed, and I turned off my 3DS and didn't try again. Because
such is your relationship with Fire Emblem.
Yeah, it was my own fault. I just stuck a character way too close in range to other places where she was going to get completely dicked on by the bad guys, and yeah, I failed miserably. So yeah, I'm sort of in the process of try it every now and then, and one day I'll get past this stupid mission and keep going with that game. I mean, it is a good game, don't get me wrong. I just need
now the thing is, though, I mean, you know, she died, but that's not the end of the world, right? Fire Emblem all get left behind. You could have continued. You know, I feel like you do want to make this, even though it's your first run through of a Fire Emblem game ever, you still have that inkling of wanting to keep everyone alive, right?
Yeah, well, it was mainly because you always talk about loot as being one of the like better magic, if not the best magic user, and I was like, ugh. I need her, and like I am really keen to try and complete the game without anyone dying.
Yeah. What chapter is this? Is this the one where you are trying to rescue Inez?
Yeah, that one. And I need to watch your LP back. For a little bit of guidance.
Yeah, that would help, so, I think.
Yeah, but enough of that. Like yourself, I've also been playing a bit of 3D World.
Finishing it off, really, just at the end stages.
Yeah, we're both at the end, and I might as well just say it now. Shall I say it?
Ooh, okay then.
So I've completed every level in 3D World, and I managed to get all 380 stars, and I'm very pleased with myself.
So it's a very good achievement. I congratulate on you.
Yeah,
but I don't give a fuck anymore. So
you're not gonna go back to it and just finish those final 2 levels?
You know, it's always there as an option, just like the final level of 3D Land is always there as an option, just like the final level of Galaxy 2 is always there as an option. If I want to be a fucking masochist and spend 7 hours trying to beat a single level that is full of bullshit, then sure, it's there at my beck and call. But you know, I mean, when you get to that stage in the game, I beat the boss blitz, which I was really happy with. I did that on stream, and I was like, okay, this is solid. And I tried Champions Road. We went at it for a few hours, and I decided, you know, that's it. I've seen enough of this game. It's offered me what it has offered me, and I'm just going to close the book on it. So, yeah, I'm pretty much done. But what did you think of the final stages? Do you think that they ramped up too hard in difficulty for like those final green stars before the last levels, or was it okay?
That's the thing, though. Like, if I'd felt that they were too difficult to actually complete, I would have stopped trying a long time ago. It was the fact that they felt within my range, and that's what kept driving me on. Combined with like seeing online how long the stage was, and I thought, you know what, I mean, it's a really long stage, but it's not unnecessarily long, so I think it is manageable. And I mean, if you've done the rest of the game, I think for anyone who's done the rest of the game, I think it is doable.
Yeah.
It's just combining all the elements together into one run that's really difficult. But yeah, it must have taken me close to 200 lives. No, it was more than 200 lives. Yeah, it was way too many lives either way. And I managed to do it, and I will maybe attempt it with the other characters at some point. but
I mean, that's just for bragging rights, honestly. Which, hats off to you if you can complete that final level with someone other than Peach. But Jesus, that's a heavy thing to do.
Oh no, I'm definitely gonna do that at some point.
Well, you're a fucking crazy man, and I don't know why you would like to do that, but there you go.
I'll probably play Galaxy 2 first or something, or I don't know, some other game.
Definitely. Sure. Well, that's good. We've kind of closed the book on 3D World.
Yeah.
It's a great game, and you know, I have my issues with it, but it certainly doesn't take too much away from it, and I would heartily recommend it to any Wii U owner out there. So, there you go.
So the main game I've been playing, and I must have played about 11 to 12 hours of this by now, and unusually it's a Wii U game.
Oh my goodness, they exist!
And yes, it was actually a launch game, supposedly.
Oh, launch window, I think.
Launch window, yeah. So the game I'm talking about is Pikmin 3. And now I played like quite a lot of Pikmin 2 back in the day. I never played Pikmin 1. And I was just really keen to get this because I didn't have many Wii U games. Well, I only had like 2. And I needed another Wii U game and I wanted something good to play. And this is really sort of satisfied that itch like really well, because this is just an unbelievably well designed game. I must have played about 22 days, sort of that's the clock that the game goes by for those who don't know about Pikmin. And I've unlocked the new flying Pikmin that exist in the game, and they are just the whole game just looks incredible. And I mean, I talk way too much about graphics, but this game, this is the best game I've ever owned. Definitely
best looking game visually you've ever owned yourself. Yeah,
I wouldn't say best I've ever played, but best I've ever owned, for sure. It's hard to describe. It's the fact that it's going for these garden graphics that just look really crisp. And sorry, go ahead.
There's very much a focus like on the minuscule comparative to the Pikmin. And when you're kind of zooming in on those things like flowers and grass and you know, ground textures and water especially is where a lot of, you know, many people like to tout that water is a good benchmark for how good a game looks.
Look at that water.
It's all about really environmental stuff, right? And I think that when that's pulled off well, it makes a game just elevates the visual fidelity to such a degree that it looks much better. So I think that's where it's kind of drawing from, honestly.
Yeah, and in terms of gameplay, it feels like they've stepped it up quite a bit. Like, I think these worlds are much better designed than the worlds from Pikmin 2, and it's really non-linear. So you might get to a gate and think, oh, I'm stuck, I need some other Pikmin, or I need some power up, or I need this or that to get past that gate. But it doesn't matter, because there's another area you can go to, and there's probably another area on top of that, and there's just loads of different paths you can follow that all lead away from like your central base on each world. And just sort of as the worlds have progressed, so the most recent world I played is just so well designed, because there's like these areas there are these lily pads that you can like jump on, and then they flow down the river. Then you jump off those lily pads, and your Pikmin will actually automatically do that if you tell them to. So for example, there's numerous areas in the game where you're building a bridge, so you build the bridge in little bits, and this is in all the trailers and things. It's very clear to see, and regardless of the fact that there's this lily pad you have to jump on and off, the Pikmin will just happily pick up a bit of bridge, get on the pad, get off it, and then start building the bridge. And just seeing that chain of them just running along, collecting and doing their work is just really well done in this game compared to the last one. And on top of that, there's like, it's not just bridges. It's like if there's a bunch of grapes, for example, they'll take the grapes one by one rather than take the whole thing as one. And it's just little things like that look really nice. And I was saying this to you before, NBZ, but the flying Pikmin are really cool because, first of all, their physics are completely different because they're flying. So everything that they carry is in the air. And because it's in the air, previous areas where you wouldn't normally go, for example, over water, they will just directly fly anything that they collect directly back over the water in the quickest route possible. And this map is really good at showing off that mechanic. And sort of that combined with this sort of autumnal effect of this stage. And yeah, I still don't have the water Pikmin, which is, so you obviously get them like really late in the game and then sort of go around all the final worlds getting all the stuff at the bottom of the rivers and things. But it's just really great design. Like, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do you feel about, so there's this idea of you need to collect enough fruit juice, right, to keep yourself going throughout the days. How do you feel like the trade-off is between struggling to find enough fruit to keep yourself going and just kind of exploring and finding different areas? You think it's a nice balance if you structure yourself well?
This is something I was a little worried about before buying the game, because basically in Pikmin 1, although I've not played it, I know that you have like a set amount of days before it's like game over, before you have to finish the game, and it's like everything is a time pressure all the time. It's constantly do this, do that, etc. Pikmin 2 is the complete opposite. It's you have as many days as you want, and there's stuff you have to collect to complete the game, but if you don't collect that on a given day, doesn't matter, come back the next day. And this Pikmin 3 is sort of somewhere between the two, which is really nice, because basically you have to collect fruit to create juice, and then you need 1 bottle of juice per day to feed your, what are they called? What was the planet they're from? It's not Hokate, it's another one.
I don't know.
I've forgotten the name.
Whatever.
But anyway, you have to feed your 3 little people. So there's this sort of time pressure, but what you can do is near the start of the game, most of the fruit is quite easy to get. There's sort of certain bits of fruit on each world that are very obvious, and then obviously there's some that are more hidden. So normally what happens is you go through one day where you might get like 5 pieces of fruit just on one day, but then for the next 3 days you don't find any. So it never, although there's that time pressure of having to have enough fruit to keep your quest going, like for example right now I think I've got 15 days stock or 12 days stock or something ridiculous.
Oh wow, so you can just go and explore stuff at your own leisure, not have to worry about fruit for a while.
Exactly, so I have a solid few days where I could, if I wanted, not collect any fruit and just explore. But I don't think I'm going to do that. Like I feel like this game, it's possible to explore while at the same time pick up fruit. Like, it doesn't feel like you're wasting time exploring, because most of the time when you're exploring you discover fruit. It's very rare that you would go on a big exploration mission and
right, so they're both kind of intertwined with one another regardless.
Exactly, like the fruit is practically encouraging you to explore. So because of that, and don't get me wrong, so the fruit isn't the mission. The mission is to get specific shit. No, it's not shit parts. It is shit parts. It's like to get technologies that give off these waves that you can sense, and you're trying to get close to those waves.
Trying to make sense of the Pikmin story here, you know.
Yeah, I mean it is a good story. I'm just eloquating it terribly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there are other missions, it's not just about getting fruit. That's just sort of the side thing that you're constantly doing all the time. The boss battles are great, I think. I mean, they're not, the ones I've had aren't overly difficult yet, but I'm sure that they'll ramp up. I think I've got at least a couple more to go. And I think graphically they look fantastic as well. And I really, really like, as well as the winged Pikmin, the rock Pikmin. I think just the idea of having these glass areas and crystal areas that you just smash them into, it's like they're just trying to show off the graphics.
Yeah.
Like it's a really nice idea that they went for.
Now, have you been playing with your headphones on with this game? I was kind of wondering about the sound design, because it seems like, you know, in a very environmental game, a lot of atmospheric and ethereal sounds coming through, you know? Yeah,
so the great thing about the Wii U, obviously, is you can play games with your headphones in. Now, I know I think you can actually do this now with the PS4 as well, where there's like a headphone jack on the controller.
Yeah, there's a headphone jack you plug in and just listen.
Yeah, and I use this feature all the time for a number of reasons. First of all, I'm in like quite a tight-knit housing area where there's people living on either side of me, so I don't want to make a massive noise, especially if I'm playing late at night. Secondly, like you said, it's just so much nicer to get all that music in your ear, and the music in this game is really, really nice. It's so relaxing. Like, the music changes when enemies and bosses appear. There's different music for every level. The menu music is incredible. Like, even the first sort of theme tune that comes in when the title appears is just, it's hard to describe.
Sends chills down the spine, one might say.
Yeah, it's really, it just sums up Pikmin. But before I finish this, there's just one thing that I don't like about this game, and this is probably the only thing I don't like about this game, and that is that it just feels really awkward control-wise. And I don't mean, like, for example, I've played this whole game basically with the Wiimote nunchuck. Now that feels great. The controls are great with that. You point using the Wiimote, and you have great precision in everything you're doing. The problem is the map is really important, because within Pikmin 3, this is a new feature. You can control all three of your little people individually of each other, and you can get them to move to areas of the map using the map. You basically put a pinpoint down on the map and tell them to walk there, and you can do that while doing another activity with one of the other members of your team. So basically, I was playing the whole game with my Wii U pad on my lap while I'm sitting there with the Wiimote nunchuck in my hands, and obviously my headset is connected to the pad, so my sort of
you got crossing wires basically.
Yeah, so I got crossing wires, and it was just a little awkward, but at the same time I love the map feature. So in an ideal world, I'd love to be able to play it with just the gamepad, and I tried that for all of 5 minutes, but basically the precision with the aiming just felt like I wanted to work around it, but I just couldn't do it. It was just going to frustrate me too much, which is funny because, like, the GameCube versions, obviously you don't have the Wiimote at all. So it's like they designed it more around the Wiimote, and because of that, I have to play it with the Wiimote nunchuck and with it in my lap. So that's a little annoying, but I can understand they were kind of in a corner as to what to do with that. I don't see how they could have got around that. But so that's my first impressions of Pikmin 3. I'm sure I'll talk about it in the future, but
oh, definitely. I have more questions to ask, but we need to move on. So
that's true. I mean, we'll talk loads more about this game in the future. So yeah.
Yeah. So what I've been playing is a lot of finishing things off. Basically, as I said before, finished off Mario 3D World. I'm just going to close the book on that one and leave it as it is. And then I finished also SteamWorld Dig, which I talked about, I think, a couple of episodes ago, which is the indie game on eShop, which I really enjoyed. I think it was a lot of fun. It was, a condensed, tight experience with a lot of interesting Metroid elements, and I think, like, because I was stuck on the final boss for quite a long time, it was something that was kind of sitting there, and I was like, oh, I really want to finish this. I hate leaving games on a final boss. I did it with Dragon Quest IX, but the reason I did that was because I'd seen the entire game, most of it, obviously, and it was just kind of grinding to get to the end. I just didn't seem it was worth it. But with an action-based game like SteamWorld Dig, it was like, I just need to sit down, graft, and make sure I do it. And I finished it off, and I finished the final boss, who's really cool and well designed, and it makes sense within the context of the world because there's not a huge amount of focus on the combat, and so they don't focus on combat when it comes to the final boss. It's much more about platforming and about the digging mechanic, which is cool. So that has been finished off, and I definitely recommend it. If it goes on sale on the eShop, I'd say snap it up instantly. It's definitely a worthwhile purchase. So the next thing that I was playing was the episode 2 of The Wolf Among Us, which came out just a few days ago, and I already have the season pass, so I just got it downloaded on the day of. I got back home the evening and just played through it. It was about an hour and a half, a little bit shorter than the first episode, but definitely that game is picking up. The mysteries keep expanding, and there's lots of plot twists going on, and I really like how they're integrating the Fable narrative and all these stories of Snow White and the Big Bad Wolf and everything kind of coming together and coalescing, which I think is just a fascinating thing, honestly, from someone who's...
And is it the actual stories rather than just the characters?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's this interesting plot thread going through at the moment where someone is using the Snow White story to commit murders, which is really kind of weird. And it's kind of an interesting development at the end, which is like, oh, maybe this guy's the murderer, because they kind of frame someone at the end. You're like, but that doesn't make a huge amount of sense. So they're still leaving it up in the air. I don't think that I'm really on the trail of who the murderer is yet, but it's getting ever closer. And I guess I'll keep checking in on Walking Dead: Wolf Among Us as the weeks go past. But not a huge amount more to say on it. Just that it's continuing the trend of being an excellent series, and I'm enjoying it. So
when's the next one?
Well, I mean, this one was a 4-month gap. But
Oof.
they said they had a lot of technical issues and stuff, which they shouldn't. Lots of things coalesced to make sure that it was really hard for them to get it out, and they're saying that it shouldn't happen again. So hopefully, it will be less of a gap next time, and we should be much more consistent. So. Anyway, the final thing I want to talk about, which is the main thing that I've been playing, is something that I picked up in the Steam sale last summer, and it is a Lego game. Now, I have a lot of experience playing Lego Star Wars back on GameCube with you, Bally.
Yeah.
That was a fun experience, That
was great, because we'd never really played a proper Lego game before.
Well, it was the first one, right? It was the original, and so that's why it made such an impact. It's like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah.
And, I like the comedy of the Lego games, where they take these classic scenes from franchises and just put a twist on them, a Lego twist, which is just hilarious. Anyway, I should probably explain what game this is. This is Lego Lord of the Rings, and it basically spans the entire movie trilogy from Fellowship through to Return. And it's been a lot of fun. I've been enjoying it. And I think this is the first Lego game which implements the real movie dialogue into the actual cutscenes and everything. So before this, they would just kind of make Lego sounds and be mute, and everything would be told through visuals as opposed to dialogue. But this, they've taken the literal dialogue from the movie and kind of dubbed it in over the Lego characters, which I would think would make it kind of, there'd be this contrast between the comedy they're trying to portray in the Lego style of things and the seriousness of the dialogue. Like, when Boromir dies, and he's lying on the ground with a banana in his chest instead of an arrow, because that's how this game just tells its story. It's a little bit jarring, but I still enjoyed it, and I like that there is the dialogue, because Lord of the Rings is one of those films, one of those film trilogies I've watched so much that I know the dialogue really well, and just seeing it put in a different context is really hilarious. That scene in itself, when Boromir dies, it starts off and he gets hit with an arrow, right? In the film, Boromir gets hit with 3 arrows and then obviously dies. In this one, he gets hit with an arrow, pulls it out, throws it away. Then he gets hit in the chest by a broom, which just kind of sticks out. He throws it out, puts it away, and then he gets hit by a banana, and then he's lying on the floor, and the Uruk-hai is about to kill him with, drumroll, a chicken. So he's like,
this is like the biggest moment of that whole film as well,
right? It's this epic climax, and the Uruk-hai is like stringing back this chicken on his bow. It's the most ridiculous thing. It's just stretching its neck back, and it's just like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's really funny.
Do they make any comedy scene over the bit where the Balrog takes Gandalf?
Okay, so I want to talk about that scene, actually.
Okay.
That was what I was going to move on to next, because what I will say is that despite this being a Lego game, there are some really epic moments. And so the funny thing about this is when Gandalf gets taken down by the Balrog, it doesn't immediately go back to Frodo and everyone. It follows Gandalf down the hole, like at the beginning of Two Towers, where you open up the movie with him falling with the Balrog. And, that scene is epic, when he's falling down and he's diving to get his sword and to slice it on the way down into the water. And you get to play out that scene. And, like, you're holding down the button as Gandalf is diving, and then he dives even further, and you get on top of the Balrog, and you're sitting on it, and you're smashing X, and you're trying to destroy it, and you're going, it's so cool. And it's just one of those awesome moments that I really enjoyed. It helps that the game looks really nice, because it's running at 1080p 60 on my PC, which is I think that you really get a sense of how good these games can look when they're pumped out to that visual fidelity, because it's just Lego, but they still do a fantastic job with it. But again, even though I think that's an awesome scene and it was really epically played out, there's this inherent problem with this game and with all Lego games of repetition. And you keep doing this Balrog fight, you have to do it 3 more times, and it just kind of repeats over and over. And because it's dragged out over such a long period...
3 times?
Yeah, well, no, I mean, like, you have to grab the sword, go down, hit him. It's like the classic Nintendo thing, to beat the boss, do it 3 times. But... like, it's supposed to be this real intense moment, and in the film it's not that long. Like, it's short, it's over, and it's done, and you're like, wow, that was awesome. The problem is that they extend it to a point where you feel, oh crap, I gotta do this again. And it starts to become monotonous, ironically, out of the epicness that it started with. And this was really, really apparent in a scene where they're going across the marshes in Two Towers with Frodo and Sam and Gollum, and it just doesn't end. It goes on forever and ever and ever, and it's just based around this very simple puzzle that every time Gollum goes across a marsh, a little bit of fire will appear where he's just gone, and you can't get past the fire until you've got some water in your bucket to wash it off with. And so you're going through at least 8, 9 separate areas each time, figuring out some puzzle to get water. And it's just like the concept keeps repeating itself, and it just gets boring after an amount of time, which is just a little bit annoying. And that's where I think that the game falls down, in all honesty. Bally, are you interested in playing another Lego game? Do you think that Lord of the Rings would be one that, if you had a choice out of the current ones?
I don't know. I've heard a lot of good things about 2 in particular on Wii U, and those are Lego City Undercover.
Yes. And
the new Marvel superheroes.
Yeah.
Or whatever. I think either of those, they've just been getting better reviews, I think. And I think having a sort of linear epic story like that, I've already sort of done with Star Wars. And yeah, it would be fun to do Lord of the Rings, but it doesn't really appeal to me.
It's nothing really new, apart from, the reason I was, very much interested in picking this game up, not only because it was cheap, but because I love Lord of the Rings, and I loved seeing the Lego interpretations of those famous scenes. So that's why it kind of appealed to me on that level.
Fair enough, yeah. But overall, and you finished it now, you think, or are you still ploughing on?
No, I haven't finished it.
Are you going to plough on till the end then?
Oh, I'm definitely going to. I want to see the end of it.
It's just parts are a bit monotonous.
Yeah, and that's just the case with all Lego games, really. So I'm about maybe halfway through. I've just done the scene where Aragorn falls off the ledge with his horse. In the warg battle, there's the warg battle that happens, and he falls off. So now I have control of Gimli and Legolas, and I guess they're going to continue on to Helm's Deep and that kind of stuff. And then obviously that'll end that movie, and then we'll move on to the third one and finish that off. But yeah, I'm going to chug through with it. I think it's just the problem I have is the padding. There's too much padding, and they really didn't need it, because they make their point well enough the first time that doing it 7 more times is not necessary. The one other thing I would like to point out is how bad of a PC port this is. If you have any choice, don't play it on PC, please. Get it on some other platform, because the menu system is terrible. If you want to add a second player, it's a fucking nightmare. It is horrible. I tried playing it with my sister when I first got it, and trying to sort out between using a 360 controller and a keyboard at the same time, and binding the keys is awful. The text just doesn't make any sense. There's no option for windowed mode, so I have to play it in full screen, which is a nightmare. I hate that. Any PC port that doesn't let you put in windowed mode is a no-no from me whatsoever, so stay away from the PC version. I got it because it was cheap, and I didn't know that it would have all these problems at the time, but it kind of sucks that it does, and I really wish that they would fix that, but, they're not going to patch a game that's this old at this point, so there you go. Yeah, so that's Lego Lord of the Rings, and I will continue plowing through that, as you will with Pikmin 3. And I guess that's going to round out what we've been playing this week. And we are going to we're going to take a break here, as per usual, before we jump straight into our next segment, which I believe, Bally, should be listener mail, correct?
Indeed.
So there you go. We're going to do that, but stick around, and we will be back in a few minutes with some of your emails. Don't go anywhere. And we are back for our segment on listener mail. We have a lot of emails. Thank you very much for sending those in. And what we think we're going to do is try and push through all of these, or as many as we can. I don't know how long this will take us, but we do have lots of long, wordy emails from you guys, which is fantastic. I encourage you all to send some more, because once we're done, we will be out of stock. So the email address is nyppquestions@gmail.com. That will be in the description of the video, and you can send us whenever you want to, your questions, your feedback, anything like that. But we're going to dive into some here, and Bally has the first one. So
okay, so we have a number of questions from Nagi, so I'll just read through them one by one and we'll just tackle them individually, I think. So the first question: how would you two feel about the inclusion of full-on voice acting in the next major 3D installment of the Zelda series on the Wii U? I personally believe it would help structure the story of this series as well as capture more emotion and feeling onto the dialogue. I also believe that Nintendo's direction in terms of Zelda needs to evolve when it comes to the scope and liveliness of the world you're in. People always point at the Zelda cartoon and the CDI games and ask why the series would need voice acting, but they were 10 years ago. Nintendo has definitely gotten into the world of voice acting with a decent performance in Metroid Other M and a well-received voice work of Kid Icarus Uprising. So in my opinion, it's definitely possible for Aonuma to take it in the direction of voice acting in the next major 3D Zelda release, and I think it would be greatly improved and would add to the world building and the characters. So, NBZ, what do you think about this?
I would like to get your opinion first, honestly, Bally. I would like to hear what your feelings on voice acting in Zelda are.
I would personally love it if they did some voice acting, and that's a very...
Really?
Yeah, that's quite a controversial response, and although I've not played the games Metroid Other M and Kid Icarus, I do think from the cutscenes I've seen that they do work well. Now, you've obviously played Kid Icarus, so it'd be interesting to see what you say, but I honestly think that the cutscenes with voice acting could be far more engaging, because without having to read text and just have... I guess you're not listening to the music as much, perhaps, or listening to the ambience. That might be an argument against it, but it's a bit weird that all the characters make these little and here little noises that are, you just feel, and you know they have a voice, but they're just not using it, sort of thing. So I think we're in a funny place where just make them speak, because it's just awkward the way they make these just noises like they're constipated and they just need to let it out, you know?
That's interesting. I thought that you would be a bit more purist about it and be like, Zelda doesn't need voice acting. It's, it's been fine as it is.
I think that's how I used to think about it, but it's grown on me.
Yeah. I mean, I think they'd have to do it right, There are certain ways of going about voice acting that can ruin games, and let's, for example, bring up Mario Sunshine. Oh my lord, the voice acting in that game is utterly horrific. Like, it is so bad. I'm not sure it really impacted the quality of the game, but, that was Nintendo more than 10 years ago. And
I didn't think it was that bad.
Really, I think Mario Sunshine is some of the worst voice acting in a game that I've ever seen.
But it's sort of, it doesn't feel out of place because it's so light-hearted. And the crucial
Yeah.
thing to mention, and this is another debatable topic within this topic, is does Link speak? Because
Right.
Mario didn't speak.
Right.
And yeah, so well, I've not heard your opinion yet anyway on this
Well,
question.
okay, I do think that voice acting is something that should come to Zelda, but only if they do it correctly. If they execute on it well and make sure it's done in a fashion that works for that world, and that's appropriate tonally, you know. On the case of Link speaking, I certainly make the argument for him staying silent, a silent protagonist. And the reason I say that is because he essentially embodies the player. And I know there are lots of games like where you play as the main character who also has voice acting and is a fleshed out character, but Link throughout the years is always just changed and adapted, and he is like the embodiment of the player. I would compare it to like Skyrim, because the Skyrim character is your own to create, which makes it stand out a bit because it's your own kind of design, but he doesn't talk or she doesn't talk, but all the NPCs do, and all the quest givers and all that stuff do. And I think it works in a way to have voice acting like that, where you have a silent protagonist, and they have people speaking to them and not necessarily having to respond. It could get awkward because there are those points where, even in Zelda games now, a character will ask Link something, he'll just stare at them, and they'll respond as if he responded when he clearly hasn't. He's just staring at them. So it could create those awkward situations, but if they do it right, then I'm all for it, most certainly. I would like to bring up, he mentioned Other M and Kid Icarus. Other M has decent voice acting. It's okay. The first time I played Other M, I thought, this is awesome. This is really good. This voice acting is fantastic. And then I stopped playing it for a while. And in the interim of me not playing Other M, I got the PS3 and I played the first two Uncharted games. And after playing those two games and going back to Other M, there is such a vast divide in terms of quality of dialogue and of voice acting in general that Other M just seemed a lot worse comparatively after having that experience. But I definitely think it's a good starting point. I agree with Nagi because I know his opinion on Kid Icarus. Kid Icarus is one of those games which just utterly breaks the fourth wall, and it's hilarious. I think the voice acting and dialogue is so well established in that game, because it's just taking the piss. It's making fun of everything, and it's amazing. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the localization team at the Treehouse. They did a fantastic job with that game, and I would certainly like Nintendo to try their hand at something more serious, like Other M, but get it right this time, as opposed to making it, sappy and that kind of thing.
That's the thing. I think that as it stands, all the Western team have to do is do a translation, whereas a full-on to voice all the actors and all the voices in English puts so much pressure on that team as to how Zelda fans will react.
Right.
I think that you're in danger of having the best Zelda yet in terms of gameplay, dungeon design, graphics, everything you can think of under the sun, but then everyone's saying, but it's a terrible game because of the voice acting. So there's always that gamble that Nintendo would have to take if they do go for it, and it'd be a real shame if it came out and they'd mucked it up.
Yeah, it would be. But I'm all for them having a go and trying. I place a lot of trust in that localization team at Treehouse to do a bang-up job, because they're great people and they do good work. So, yeah, certainly. I hope that is the case.
But yeah, I agree. No speaking links. It'd just be
jarring.
Yeah,
it'd be jarring. It'd be weird.
Because everyone has their own view of how Link's personality is, and I think it would. Some people wouldn't. It would muck up everyone's internal image of him. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, awesome.
So his second question is, how do you two feel about the Golden Sun series, and how long do you think it might take for the 3DS sequel to come about? As par for the course in this series, Dark Dawn leaves you with a major cliffhanger.
Okay, so Bali, you have zero experience with the Golden Sun and therefore zero opinion on it. Do you remember? Okay, so there's this magazine. I can't remember what it was called, but there was an issue of that magazine which had the
GBX.
GBX. Yeah, there's an issue of that magazine that had the review for Star Wars Episode 1 Jedi Battle, whatever it was on GBA.
Jedi Power Battles, Episode 1.
Yes.
VMT3BYJ.
In that same issue, they had a review for Golden Sun and for Breath of Fire. And that was the first I'd ever heard of Golden Sun. I didn't know what it was. I had no idea. But Golden Sun is a really fantastic RPG series on Nintendo handhelds. I believe it's developed by Camelot, who also did Mario Golf on GBA and Game Boy, I think, and also the tennis games, a couple of tennis games. They're a big studio for that kind of thing. And Golden Sun is a really cool series. I haven't played a huge amount of it. I've played quite a bit of the first game on an emulator, and I also played maybe 2 or 3 hours of Dark Dawn, which is the DS game. And I really enjoyed it, but I didn't fully invest myself in it. I know for Nagi, this is personally his favourite series and his favourite game of all time is Golden Sun. So that's why he's interested in our take on it. But unfortunately, Bally doesn't really know anything about Golden Sun, so there you go. But in terms of a 3DS sequel, if I'm charting it out correctly, Golden Sun Dark Dawn was revealed at E3 2010 and released in 2011, or maybe it was at the end of 2010. I think maybe it was the end of 2010 it was released. So it's been a good, 3 years since it was released. I think that certainly someone's working on a 3DS sequel, and there will be one, especially if Nagi mentions there's a cliffhanger at the end of that game. Maybe it will, that's something that could most certainly be announced in a Nintendo Direct later in February. I think that's a good shout, actually. A potential announcement for a new Golden Sun game in a Nintendo Direct. I would not be surprised, and it would be cool. I would definitely jump into that, honestly, on 3DS if it were to come out. I think it would be an awesome thing to do. So, there you go. There's some Golden Sun talk, Nagi. I hope you're happy.
Well, seeing as I couldn't answer this next question is completely directed at me. And that is...
I'm going to shut up. Bally, you speak.
Does Bally own a non-Nintendo made home console, or is he all Nintendo? So, the answer is... I own a PC. No, I'm joking. I all own Nintendo consoles, and that's including handhelds, actually. Going back, was gifted to me was the original Game Boy Classic. I then bought the Game Boy Color. I got the Game Boy Advance. I got the Game Boy Advance SP, the DS, the DS Lite, and then the 3DS. Those are all my handhelds. And then I owned an N64, GameCube, a Wii, and a Wii U. Those are my 4 home consoles, and that's all the gaming consoles I've ever owned. Yeah, I don't really know the reasoning behind this other than the fact I'm just a bit of a Nintendo fan, and I don't really have the time or the willpower to kind of buy another gaming console that's non-Nintendo, because all those ones I've listed have sort of worked well together. I'm obviously a big Mario and Zelda fan, and if I want to get those experiences, I have to stick with the Nintendo consoles. I mean, if they ever move to other platforms, as has been suggested with Nintendo sales figures, then I'd obviously happily move across with them and pick up whatever console they appear on. But for now, sticking with Nintendo, and it has hindered me in the past, because I used to be, or I still am to some extent, a big driving game fan, and yeah, around about Burnout 2 was the last Burnout game to appear on a Nintendo system, and actually Need for Speed, what's the new one called on Wii U?
Need for Speed Most Wanted Rivals.
Yeah, so apparently that's made by the same company as Burnout.
Criterion, I think.
Criterion, yeah. Apparently that it's the first Criterion driving game on a Nintendo console since Burnout 2 Point of Impact. So it's quite fitting that I was considering buying it, because Burnout 2 Point of Impact was the last proper driving game I bought on a Nintendo console way back on the GameCube. So yeah,
there you
rant
go.
over, I guess.
Here we go. Alrighty.
So the final question is Bayonetta for Smash 4. Seems fitting considering the exclusivity of the next game. Yeah.
I think it's a possibility. Yeah, certainly. I mean, there are other platinum characters that could potentially fit the bill. Amaterasu from Okami. There's, Beautiful Joe, not Beautiful Joe, Wonder Red, the main guy of Wonderful 101, could potentially be there. Yeah, I mean, certainly that's a possibility. I'm not sure if it will happen. Maybe I'm definitely sure that Bayonetta will appear in some capacity in Smash, be it an assist trophy or something of that nature. Maybe just a normal trophy for collection purposes. But maybe she will make an appearance. Who
The
knows?
interesting thing that I'm finding about the Smash roster is that we're already up to about 20 characters, and I think the last game had 33, 34, or 30. Like, it was low 30s, I think, right?
Yeah,
Brawl.
something
So
like that.
there's really not, unless they go way over to like maybe 40 or 45 or so, which they probably will to some extent. I honestly don't see where all the room for plenty of characters who haven't been announced yet, like Yoshi, like Ganondorf, like pretty standard stock Jigglypuff, stock characters that have been in plenty of the other ones that just haven't been announced yet. So it's weird I don't understand how they're going to fit in all these potential new characters.
Yeah, it's a shame. I would rather them shed a lot of clones and duplicates and that kind of thing, and bring some new blood in. But we'll see. Maybe Sakurai will go fucking crazy and add like 50 characters. We have no idea. It could be insane. But there you go. So that's the end of Nagi's questioning. Now he can be satisfied. Stop bugging me about it. Alrighty.
So now we have a question from Seer. And it's NBZ. Watching your original Fire Emblem LP from 2012 was pretty much what got me into the series. I even went out on a limb and bought Awakening when it first came out, and I'm glad that I did. One of the things that intrigued me about this game from the get-go was that it reminded me a lot of the Super Robot Wars franchise. So my question for you is, have you ever played any games in these series? If not, I might suggest checking them out. The majority of this series doesn't get released outside of Japan and thus doesn't get translated. But SRWOG for the Game Boy Advance is solid, and I would recommend it. I know this isn't Nintendo content per se, but curiously has been nagging me, and you'll need viewers to ask questions.
Excellent.
So
I'm really happy that my Fire Emblem LP spurred you onto the series. That's awesome. Like I do actually tend to get a lot of people saying I watched your Fire Emblem LP and that's why I bought Awakening, and I'm so glad that I did. And I think that's awesome. Like, that's an amazing thing, because Fire Emblem's one of my favorite franchises in gaming, and turning more people onto it is fantastic. I want to.
You should work for Nintendo.
Yeah, man. Just LP for them professionally,
Or you should send them an official email saying, I have sold this game to this many people, proving that LPs are a good thing.
Yeah,
blah, blah, blah.
right. Pay me. Pay you. So, in regards to Super Robot Wars, I've never heard of it before. It seems like a very obscure franchise, and being Japan exclusive means that I don't really have, I guess it's not super prevalent. It's not one of those huge Japanese games that gets a lot of attention. So, certainly sounds interesting. If it's anything like Fire Emblem, then I'd be more than happy to jump on board. If there's any kind of fan translations, or anything like that, I would be happy to take a look and maybe try it. Nothing really much more to say on that, but thanks for the tip, and I'll try and check it out sometime, just as you checked out Fire Emblem. So there we go. And he has a second question, I believe, or a second email.
Yes, this is quite long, so get ready, guys.
Strap yourselves in, Bally. It's time to read.
Seer also, yes. My last email was from MBZ, but this one goes to Bally as well. I do enjoy you guys' podcasts, and have got to admit that your optimism is almost infectious. Keep in mind that I am mostly a PC gamer, Steam, etc. So you'll need... Yeah, it's all these y'alls, it's so American. So y'all should probably take this with a grain of salt. In fact, though I've played my 3DS quite a bit, I haven't played the Wii U yet. However, Bally suggested that if viewers disagree, we should share our thoughts. So here they are. So one thing that Nintendo does really well is innovation, and innovation is good. The problem is that there is a very fine line between innovation and gimmicks. I somewhat felt the Wii was pushing this boundary, but the Wii U is even more so. Back when the Wii came out, a lot of people simply plugged it in their GameCube controllers because they're a little less awkward and more to the point. From the perspective of someone that hasn't bought into the Wii U market yet, it looks like Nintendo is focusing more on gimmicks than actual gameplay. It might just be me getting old, but I find that simple games are some of my favourites. That is, games that forego gimmicks and let the players straight up play the game. But even simple games can have a lot of breadth and depth to them, which is why I've recently been a big fan of many indie games on Steam. I also don't think that Miiverse is a good idea at all. In fact, I find the idea somewhat distasteful, though not as strictly so as I find Google Plus to be. Again, looking at it from the outside, it looks like another form of Facebook, Twitter, Google Plus, and all of a sudden want to smash my face into a wall. Sorry, that was all condensed into one word and it was a bit tricky to read. And like I'd previously mentioned, this might just be getting into my 20s, but I really don't like the idea of having a bazillion accounts online. I can barely keep up with one or two, and I honestly hate the idea of having to make an account just to use a console and play a game. It's kind of like trying to date a cute girl with a really annoying inseparable best friend, if that makes sense. If I did have 3D Land or whatever it's called, I would sooner look up on GameFAQs how to do a level than check on Miiverse. Last point of contention with you guys is the 3D setting on the 3DS. I'm glad to have my 3DS, and I like the folding style much more than I like the ugly brick style of the 2DS. However, I do think it's a personal preference thing, and like much of Nintendo's other innovations, it just feels somewhat gimmicky to me. I can tell you I pretty much always play with it off, and can say doing so hasn't negatively impacted my gameplay experience. That's all I've got, and I apologise for the length of the email. I do understand if when y'all disagree, but I suppose this is the perspective of someone who grew up with the N64 and GameCube and has since become more of a casual fan of Nintendo and less of a hardcore fan. Thanks for hearing me out, Seer. Woofed.
Lot of stuff there, a lot of stuff. He wasn't necessarily asking a question, but you know his opinions are valid, and we can pick up on some of them. I think.
Absolutely.
So he makes.
Well, first of all, thank you for the praise you've given us that we're infectious.
Yeah, I guess you got to be positive on Nintendo sometimes, right? So there you go.
Every now and then.
Yeah. So we can pick out a few things that he was talking about. He mentions a lot about innovation on Nintendo and that kind of thing, and that being a barrier to kind of entering into just getting to the gameplay experience. Do you feel that Nintendo have been doing that with Wii U in general, or do you think they're pushing gimmicks, or are they just straight up making games?
Well, I think Seer knows we're going to disagree with him, but so I actually think the Wii U is far more gimmick-less in the sense that the Wii was so much of a gimmick. The reason the Wii sold tons is the gimmick that Wii Sports had to it. You swing the remote, it's a tennis racket, you hit the ball, done. The fact that the Wii U, in my opinion, is so gimmick-less is part of the reason it's not sold well. And that's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just an observation that Nintendo was definitely trying to make, while the marketing wasn't trying to appeal to the hardcore gamer, the actual system itself feels, just by the fact it's got buttons on it and there's a big ass screen in your hands, is obviously appealing far more to the hardcore gamer and isn't really a gimmick in my opinion, because while there aren't many games out there that are using the screen, games like Nintendo Land that do use the screen, it doesn't feel like a gimmick at all. It feels like a genuine intrinsic part of the gameplay that isn't a gimmick because it's hard to market. And they proved that at E3, where everyone was staring at Luigi's Mansion thinking, what's going on? This looks kind of cool, but I really don't understand what's going on, sort of thing. And I think they spent like 10 minutes trying to describe it. So I really do think that the Wii U is gimmickless in the sense that you have to be sitting down and playing it before you realize you appreciate the screen.
Yeah. I think the Nintendo actually much less pushing the gamepad at this point, which is ironic considering that it's the integral part of the system. It's also ironic when they had the recent, investor QA, I think it was. They announced a few things like like DS games coming to Wii U Virtual Console, that kind of thing. And they're saying we're going to really try and push. We put Miyamoto on this team, push the gamepad. It's going to be an integral part of the system now. And yeah, the next game they release, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, literally will have the screen blank. The screen will be pointless. There will be nothing on it. Like, talk about them doubling down on the gamepad and then doing that. Where's the logic there?
Is it actually blank? Is it not even repeating what's on the...
It's not even repeating what's on the screen. I guess you can transfer it down there for off-TV play, but from what people have said, it is just going to be a black screen. Which to me shouts they are giving up on gimmicks where that's concerned and just getting straight to the gameplay, which is exactly what our emailer wants, is to get straight to the gameplay. And Donkey Kong is certainly a mechanics-driven hardcore platformer, and I guess that's something that would interest him potentially, especially saying, being a fan of indie games on Steam. Most indie games on Steam are platformers of some kind. Maybe that would be something interesting. I guess the same with Mario Kart. Like, Mario Kart, I would argue, they have just put a massive gimmick on the screen. It's a fucking horn! What the hell? Like, it's dumb. It's really dumb. And, I don't know. It seems strange.
Part of me is really hoping, we're kind of going off at a tangent to some degree, part of me is really hoping that we'll see in the next Direct that they've done something innovative with Mario Kart, and that it's not just a horn, and that they actually will change it up a bit.
I certainly hope so. He also talked a bit about Miiverse and feeling like he's bogged down with social media to the point at which having another one would make it worse. The argument I would make there is that Miiverse is really something that is a closed system, whereas Facebook and Twitter, you're checking from everywhere, every place. Miiverse is something that is exclusively based on the console, and once you're off the console, you can still access it, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to access it. It's one of those things where you don't need to use other social media while you're playing your game, but it's kind of one of those things that's there, and it's a nice benefit to having it. I don't feel like it's another burden that you should worry about, because it really isn't. I never check my Miiverse on my computer, yet I check Twitter every day, but when I go onto my Wii U, I'll check Miiverse because that's the thing that it's linked to.
I agree. It's like when you're ready to play a game, you're also ready to check your Miiverse, and it really doesn't take that long, and it doesn't feel a lot like Twitter or Facebook, to be honest. And the way that it links up to lots of the games feels pretty seamless. There's a few little loading times here and there, but it's not bad. And I do think that they're really going to try and improve it. And I hope they do improve it, because at the moment it's a very simple system. It'd be nice if it created a space for debate and not just
funny drawings.
Oh my god, this level's amazing, or yay, or I honestly think if you posted something like, God, Nintendo got it wrong again with this level, blah blah blah, they just retract your post. Like, maybe, I honestly think that the policing of it creates this environment where everyone's saying the same thing. And
1984. Nintendo's 1984.
It's quite creepy in a way, and it's a shame, because I guess they're scared that a debate would start, because they know they're good, that Nintendo, that they know that they're in the wrong on so many issues, such as, I don't know, the online of their last Smash Brothers game, Brawl, was just horrendous, and they know they got that wrong, but they don't want people talking about it. And they're probably terrified of getting it wrong for the next one, and don't want people being like, you better not mess up that online. What if they do this? And then all these suggestions. So I think that it's an awkward system, but it's a bit of fun, and I think they can improve that bit of fun. And I wouldn't compare it that much to Facebook and Twitter, to be honest.
Definitely not. The other thing he was talking about is how he would sooner look up things on GameFAQs than check Miiverse. I would do the same thing, honestly, but the nice thing about Miiverse is if by chance you happen upon a solution, then it cuts out a bunch of time, really. And, it's not a thing where you are using it as a resource so much as it can help sometimes in, places where you wouldn't expect it to. And yeah, it's kind of cool that it just kind of works like that. So
yeah. Plus, for me personally, with that point, for example, in 3D World, if there's like a green star you missed and you look up on Miiverse, that's one area where the filtering has worked really well, because some people have done hints. They've basically not revealed where the star is, but they've given you a little hint as to where it might be, or something you might need to get it. And often those posts have been liked or yahed tons, and they go right up the list, so they're easier to find. And because of that, it's like quite an enjoyable experience where you still feel like you're figuring out part of the puzzle, but not all of it. So that's
it
nice.
It doesn't completely remove the entirety of it.
It's not just like, this is where the green star is. It's saying it might be around here, or I don't know.
Yeah, sure. And finally, talking about the 3D on 3DS and how he doesn't care for it whatsoever and hasn't been negatively impacted by the lack of it. And that's fair enough. It's personal preference. I know plenty of people who don't play with 3D on at all, and they seem to be doing fine. It's just for us personally, it feels like a nice visual upgrade. And especially, I can talk about this now because I have my 3DS XL. The 3D on the 3DS XL pops, man. It looks great. It really does, and accentuates what was already a fantastic system. So I'm glad it's there. But I understand why you don't like it. So there you go. Long question, long answers. But thank you for your email. It was insightful, and we always like hearing that kind of feedback because it kind of balances opinion. So there you go.
Absolutely. Sure. Have we got time for another one?
I mean, we have. We probably do. So we can jump to it.
Okay. Well, this is from Meowth900. So let's go on with it. Hi Zed and Bally, I would like to start this off by saying I have some anime suggestions for you that could potentially make you grow past the childish anime that is Pokemon and Digimon. The first anime I recommend is my personal favourite that came out in 1998, possibly her Dragon Ball Z, and that is Cowboy Bebop. It is only 23 episodes plus a movie, which is pretty much wraps up the series. I don't want to spoil it though, but I hope you will watch it. The other series I recommend is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which is a modern classic reboot of the Full Metal book series. It's an anime that has a touching story and lots of great characters that you'll love and hate. Other classics are this is Japanese, Inuyasha, Rurouni Kenshin, and Trigun. How was that?
I can't ask you to do much better. So
okay, right. Moving on. And I'll also not be an idiot and say you should at least see Attack on Titan, which is only 25 episodes. I heard the anime will be dubbed by Funimation, and they do great dubs such as DBZ. And Zed, a Wii U suggestion from me. Fire Emblem used the gamepad as the touchscreen to maneuver the soldiers around, and a cool image of the warrior running to the opponent and attacking. Here are my questions. Zed, if they ever did a Fire Emblem anime adaptation based on events in Fire Emblem Awakening, would you watch it? And Bally, since you love Wind Waker a lot, who's your favourite character that isn't a main story character? And my final question is, are you excited for the Xenoblade sequel and the crossover of Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem?
There we go. Thank you for the anime suggestions, though we probably won't watch any. I don't know. I just don't really have time in my watching schedule. I watch so many TV shows that the anime is very much low down the list, but I'll keep them in mind potentially. But the questions, if there was a Fire Emblem anime, fuck yeah, I would watch that. Of course I would. I think that would be awesome. I think there is some kind of Fire Emblem anime in Japan, but one that was based on Awakening, that'd be great. I would be down for that, most certainly. I would watch the hell out of it. What about you, Bally, with Wind Waker?
So yeah, the definition of a non-main story character. I don't know what characters you interact with I guess, all the side quest characters, but I don't know the names of any of them. But in terms of like actual characters, I really like the idea that there are these gods. So I like that you interact and speak to Jaboon, the big fish, and also Valu. Actually, you don't speak to them, or I think they speak a funny language. But if you replay the game, they speak in English, I think.
Yeah, you unlock the Hylian. They speak Hylian, and it translates for you second time through, I believe.
Yeah, so I like both of those, and not even what they say, but just the way they interact with the story and what they represent and all that behind them. But I also really like Medley. I think she's a cool character, and I like how she comes back at the end of the game to help you out, as well as right at the start with Dragon Roost. So yeah, those are probably my favorites.
Awesome.
Are we excited for the Xenoblade sequel and the crossover of Shin Megami Tensei and Fire Emblem?
I'm super excited for both of those, but I guess, Bally, you don't have much of a connection to Xenoblade. So, what do you think of it, though? What do you think of the trailers for X? Do you think it looks like something potentially interesting?
It looks cool, yeah. I like the idea of mechs. And like, I've recently actually seen quite a few of the trailers for Titanfall.
Right.
And it just... Like, I don't want to play it, but it just looks really cool. Like, the mechs, they just look so kick-ass. Like,
crazy powerful. Man,
yeah.
There's that one scene in the trailer of X where this mech is standing on, like, the edge of a cliff overlooking this massive landscape of grass, and it just flies off, and it's just like, man, can you explore that entire place as a flying mech? That looks awesome. Oh my god.
Yeah.
It just seems like one of those things that I would be super excited for. So, yeah, we're excited for those.
No, I might consider Xenoblade. I'd be more excited about that than the crossover, maybe. Or I need to see more gameplay and maybe some reviews and things. And
well, I mean, Shin Megami Tensei vs. Fire Emblem is only a concept right now. There's literally nothing about it apart from that. Yeah, there's no gameplay whatsoever. We have no idea what it's going to be. But I believe it's being developed by Atlas and not by Intelligent Systems. So I guess it's maybe going to come more in line with Shin Megami Tensei, which I would not prefer. I'd prefer more of a Fire Emblem focus, but I don't know. It may work out. We'll see. Anyway, that was those questions. So let's.
Cool. So shall we do any more questions? Shall we get? There's only 2 more. Shall we get them all wrapped up?
Yeah, let's wrap them up. Then have a clear inbox, and you can send in your new emails.
Let's go for it. Right. So the next one is from Tom, and he says, "Hey, MBZ and Bally, I know that it's not the most publicized or Nintendo-esque game coming out on the Wii U, and that it's a third-party title, but I was wondering what you guys think about Bayonetta 2. I think it's the coolest thing since Sliced Batman, and it deserves more attention. Are you guys planning on getting it? Did you play the first game, and if so, what did you think of it? What do you think about it being a Wii U exclusive? If you guys are unaware of the first Bayonetta, and by extension its sequel, due to the first game being an obscure title not available on any Nintendo platforms, I urge you to watch a trailer for Bayonetta 2. Your long-lost twin brother, Tom."
Okay, so Bayonetta 2 is one of those games that caused utter internet outrage the moment it was announced that it was going to be a Nintendo exclusive, because clearly all the fans of the first game played it on either PS3 or 360, and they are raging because it's not coming to one of those platforms. Which, to a degree, I guess they have reasoning behind that, but...
Is it Sega, right?
Well, so here's the thing. Bayonetta is developed by Platinum Games, who made Wonderful 101, and who made... They previously were known as Clover, and they made Okami, and Wonderful 101, and the original Bayonetta. And so here's the thing. Bayonetta 2 would not exist were it not for Nintendo, because Sega, they're bleeding money. They don't have the funds to put up capital to get Bayonetta 2 off the ground, and so because of that, they said to Platinum, go to Nintendo, they'll probably do it. And Nintendo picked it up, and Nintendo are funding that game. It is being published by them, meaning that it is an exclusive title, and unless they relinquish rights at some point, then that will stay on Wii U forever and forever after. So, for all those people who complain the fact that it was being exclusive to Nintendo, it wouldn't exist. It would, it would. The game literally wouldn't be a thing if Nintendo didn't take it as an exclusive. It would never exist. It wouldn't. I mean, come on, guys. Like, it's a bit ridiculous. In terms of familiarity with Bayonetta, neither of us have played it. Although I do own the PS3 version. I've been told by people that the PS3 version is balked and that there's a lot of issues with it. But apparently there's some kind of patch. So maybe I'll apply that and try it out. I would like to play Bayonetta before I play the second game, just to get a feel for it and to see whether I would want to get it if it's something that appeals to me, because I'm not sure if it is yet. It's like Wonderful 101, that it's one of those character action games that's fucking crazy and full of ridiculous things happening, and just explosions and her changing into different costumes and using whip blades, and it's just seems like a nuts thing. It's also strange that it's on a Nintendo platform because it clashes so much with the content that they usually put out. Like, it's one of those weird fits. It doesn't really seem like it belongs there, but it's there. And yeah, I mean, I played the demo for Wonderful 101. I didn't find it too interesting. It's not a game that I'm going to be going in for, but I'd try out Bayonetta definitely and give it a shot. Bally, do you think that you may be interested in any way by Bayonetta, or is it just going to rot by the wayside as you move on to different things?
I don't know. There's nothing about it that's like particularly taking my fancy, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I guess you'd predict that from me.
Yeah, true enough.
So shall we move on to the final question?
Yes, let's.
Right, so this is from Easy Adventurer, and they say, NBZ and Bally, I've been thinking for a little while on whether or not to purchase a Wii U. They're still a bit more expensive than I'd like them to be, especially for the poor library it has to its name currently. I found I have a very similar taste in games to NBZ, and I'm struggling to find titles that convince me to drop 425 Australian dollars, roughly 230 quid. Donkey Kong, Tropical Freeze, Super Smash Bros., Wind Waker HD are only things that are remotely interesting to me. Should I or should I not consider getting a Wii U this year?
Okay, awesome. Well, shout out to living in Australia. I guess that's cool. We have Australian listeners.
I'm assuming AUD is Australian dollars before.
Yeah,
it
is. Yeah.
Slammed for getting it wrong, but yeah.
No, it's Austrian dollars. Austrian dollars. No, AUD I believe is Australian dollars. So yeah, living out back there. So I apologize for the fact that your games cost a fuck ton and you get ripped off horribly because
yeah, I've heard about this in terms of like miniature gamers as well on another podcast. Apparently in Australia it just costs an unbelievable amount.
The Aussies get screwed when it comes to video games. The amount that they get charged is ridiculous. I'm definitely not jealous of living there. I guess for the other things, of course, but in terms of video games, hell no. So he's interested in Donkey Kong, Smash, and Wind Waker. Of course, at the current moment, Donkey Kong is on the verge of release and Wind Waker is already available. So if you were to dive in at this point, I would recommend getting the Wind Waker bundle along with Donkey Kong and waiting out for Smash. But I'm not sure that I can recommend necessarily getting a Wii U right at this instant, because to be perfectly honest, there is no killer app, and if you're not interested in Mario 3D World, then it's not something that you have to jump on straight away. You know, I think that a good thing to do would be to at least wait until the holidays when all the good games are out. Smash will be out, Mario Kart is out already, and everything is there, and maybe some stuff will have dropped in price as well. So you're probably positioning yourself better if you wait for E3, if you wait for a few Nintendo Directs for them to trickle out some more stuff and then get one. But I would certainly say that by the end of this year, there should be enough software available to where you're thinking, yeah, I want one of these things and I should pick one up. And hopefully by then, maybe they'll have dropped the price as well in Australia and you'll get it cheaper. I think definitely waiting until the end of this year is the thing to do. Bali, would you recommend anything different here?
I would agree, to be honest. I would. It depends. 230 quid, that would get you a Wii U with Wind Waker HD, which is a lot of money for just that. And if the only other two games you're interested in are those two, then Yeah, I would wait as well if I were you. Like, in terms of the games I like a lot that I own, I love 3D World and Pikmin 3, and if it wasn't for those two, it would have been a real waste of money, I'll admit. So I mean, if you're not keen on those games and you're keen on the ones you've suggested, then I would probably wait a bit. Exactly like what you were saying, MBZ.
Yeah, but I definitely would recommend you get one. Just bide your time, as opposed to diving with feet straight in.
Like, we're at that point where Nintendo have their backs to the wall almost, and you just sense that a lot of change is coming. So
it's the calm before the storm. It really is
exactly.
The calm before the storm.
I think there's going to be something no one's predicted that's going to be crazy and blow everyone's mind for either the good or the bad. And you need, regardless of whether it's good or bad, you need to wait until after that announcement to buy one, in my opinion.
Yeah, most definitely.
Cool.
So there you go. That is all the questions that we received in our mailbox.
Completely clear.
So we're dry. We are out of listener mail, but we will need more. So please, I implore you, send all your questions and your opinions.
And your disagreements with our opinions, because they're great fun. We like those emails.
Yes, send them to nyppquestions@gmail.com. I think we're going to take a break from listener mail next week, but we will need a bunch for the show after that. So keep sending them, keep giving them to us, and we will continue to read them off and answer in turn. And that is going to wrap up this segment. We will come back, I think, with a much shorter segment after this. We are in the stage of deciding what that's going to be, so it's going to be a mystery. What will we talk about in the next segment? Who knows? I guess you're going to have to wait until after the music break to find out. Until then, stick around. We'll be right back. Alright, and we are back for a bit of a shorter segment here. We ran over with listener mail, but we've been kicking around an idea for a while of talking about Street Pass and our experiences with it. If you don't know what Street Pass is, it is an internal app built into the 3DS, which basically tracks the number of steps you take if you take it out with you, and if you come into contact with anyone else who is out with their 3DS, then it will ping them, and you'll be able to get some neat stuff from them, like puzzle pieces for Nintendo puzzles, and some characters to use in a mini RPG. And it's a lot of fun. I think it's one of the coolest things about the 3DS as a system. It's not a game, but it's an internal application that is really cool, and we've had a lot of fun with it. So I guess we're just going to talk about our experiences with it, and our stats maybe. We'll flaunt some of our stats on Street Pass, and maybe you could let us know what your experiences with the Street Pass are as well. So Bali, I know that I guess in the beginning we weren't getting huge amounts of Street Pass because we both started with the 3DS at the very opening of it, at the launch. So not many people own the system. What were your initial experiences with the Street Pass like? Did you enjoy what you found?
It was a really cool idea, and at the same time it was a shame that you could take it out in public with you so much and you wouldn't get any. And then those few times that you would get some Street Pass, it was like, it was really exciting just to see that green light on and like play through with the puzzle pieces and Street Pass quest. So yeah, initially not so hot, but like now, and I mean I must have had hundreds of Street Passes now, and it's really satisfying.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about it is the puzzle collection aspect, because there's this sense of satisfaction. Once you collect all the puzzle pieces for a specific game, you get a 3D montage, like either a little mini video thing or a static, not static, but you can kind of move the 3DS circle pad around and look at this awesome 3D model of Samus or Link or whatever game that's being shown. It's just that build up and that satisfaction that comes with it, which I really enjoy about it. I think this year, 2013 was a huge year for Street Pass, mainly because so many more 3DSs were sold. Like the number of units, it was it was the best-selling console, regardless of home or handheld, of the entire year last year. And so there are so many more of them out in the wild, and it means that you are much more likely to encounter people on your walk with your 3DS than you usually would have been in the past. And that's great, because it means that it's accelerated the rate at which you get puzzle pieces. It means that you can progress more and get more hats, which you can obtain by doing Street Pass Quest. I think it's great. I think it's a really fantastic thing. So, like, at the current time, when I go out into university, there's lots of people who are around with 3DSs. I usually come back with about 10 every day, which is great because it means that I'm able to fill up my collection. It's also a little bit of a drawback because it means that if I want to continue using Street Pass after I've completed all the puzzles and everything, I'm probably going to have to pay some money to do the extra Street Pass games, because I haven't bought those yet. It didn't seem like it was necessary to do so. Bally, are you going to be tempted by those Street Pass games at all when you finish up the current ones?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think we should probably buy the same one and then continue our sort of race that we have, where we just keep going and try to see what we can get, what we can unlock. So yeah, because we're both almost finished with the puzzle pieces, I think it'd be quite a nice thing to just download one of them and have a go.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the nice thing again about Street Pass is, with me and you anyway, we can have little competitions, see who can finish which puzzles first.
I've now had 10 different countries.
Wow, that's awesome. I think I've had quite a few as well. I'm actually not sure what my stats are on that. But I
think I've had over 30 regions as well.
It's awesome when you Street Pass different people from around the world, because you just get
a Street Passed someone from Kansas today.
Oh, wow, in the middle of London. Well, I guess London is a very cultural city, people from all over the world. So you are going to get a lot of that, definitely. And yeah, there's little achievements tied in. Nintendo doesn't really have an achievement system of their own, but I always like it when they add these little accomplishments, as they call them, into their games. Especially something that is as long term as Street Pass. Once you're done with everything that you can do with the system, normally, then you can go for those much more niche, harder to accomplish goals, which, to be honest, you have no control over, because you don't know who you Street Pass. It could be anyone, so you're not necessarily going to get what you want, but it's nice that it's there. It's definitely nice that it's there. I guess we can move on to our experiences with Street Pass in areas where there are a lot of people who will have a 3DS. It's a condensed place. I know, Bali, what you had one of your early experiences was in Disneyland with the 3DS. How was that?
Yeah, it was Disney World in Orlando and Universal. I don't know, you're talking about earlier this holiday when I was in Disneyland?
No, I'm talking about the first time.
Okay, the first time, yeah. So I think I got 6 in one day, and that was insane at the time. And I was it was a shame I had to bring my 3DS around a theme park, but it was just so worth it, because it was just so cool that it actually picked up all these people while I was in America, and they could all see that I was from Scotland, and I could see all the different states that they'd come from, down to Florida to go to Disney World or whatever. So yeah, it was really cool. And then I went through these massive gaps of being back home in Scotland, and it's just no one has a 3DS, and it's just really annoying. But obviously the numbers have grown tremendously.
Then we had that day when we were in London together, and we had a little competition. We both took our 3DSs, and we were trying to see who could get the most Street Passes and win that little thing there. It ended up that, Bally, you got the most. I think you got 9 or something along those lines.
Yeah, and you got 7 or
Yeah,
something.
yeah,
Like,
I got, which is weird, and the reason it's weird is because we were together the entire day, and yet you got more than me. And then what we discovered was a neat little trick that you can pull with Street Pass to make sure that you get more puzzle piece passes and Street Pass passes than the normal. Bally, do you want to explain it?
yeah, so the secret with the Street Pass thing is that when you have lots of games that have their own Street Pass data, such as 3D Land or Link Between Worlds or Mario Kart, sometimes when you're out getting Street Passes, rather than get the Mi Street Plaza data, you receive those other games' data instead, which can result in you getting less Street Passes in Mi Street Plaza than you'd normally get. So what I do is I turn them off, and then I only have Mi Street Plaza data searching for like Street Passes, and then as a result I get more Street Passes, and I think that's why I got more Street Passes than you in London.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that is the case, and we've tested it, and it's a way of refining Street Pass. It's kind of like critical pathing a game. It's just like, how do I get the thing I most desire right now? And that's the way to do it. I will say that I turned it on I generally turn it on when I get a new game just to see what the Street Pass feature is like. And for example, with Zelda, I thought it was fantastic. I thought the Shadow Link stuff was amazing, and I kept that on for a good amount of time. But now it's gone. Gotta get rid of it. Gotta focus on the main stuff, and that is the puzzles and the Street Pass quests. So that's what we're gonna do, and that's that. So we're going to talk a little bit, or Bally is going to talk a little bit now about his experience today with Street Pass, because I, never having been to a gaming convention before, have not had the pleasure of experiencing multiple Street Passes on a single day, and Bally, it just so happens, on this very day that we recorded, has actually been to one such convention. So Bally, what did you do today? Where did you go?
Yes, I was at the London Anime and Gaming Convention in Islington, London. And the reason I was there was because as part of my course in TV journalism that I'm doing at the moment in London, we have to create a website, and our website is based upon board gaming. And this convention supposedly had some board gaming as well as lots of other anime stuff, video games, card games, etc. And when we got there weren't actually a whole lot of board games, but we sort of explored the other areas and interviewed lots of people and everything. And me being me, brought my 3DS along to everywhere I go. And just looking around, I noticed that absolutely not everyone, but there were loads and loads of 3DSs, and I might add 3DS XLs, not the standard 3DSs. So the first time I got like a break from interviewing people and sat down, I got out my 3DS. Oh, sure enough, the green light was on. Open up. Already got 10 Street Passes. I'm like, oh god, great, right. Need to clear them out. So I clear them out. In the process of clearing out those 10 Street Passes, I got 4 new ones just in the process of doing that. And in the process of then clearing out those 4, I got another couple. And then on top of that, I put my 3DS in my pocket and I went to the other side of the gaming convention just to go to the loo or to get a burger. And just in the process of walking across the room, I got like 6 more. And throughout the whole day, I must have got about 45 in total. And I was just constantly back on my 3DS trying to clear them out. And it was stressful.
It would be really nice if Nintendo offered the option of having more Street Pass data to be stored as opposed to just 10 people at once. It gets a little bit annoying when it's in that situation, but the thing is, it happens so seldom that you're at a convention where there'll be so many that I guess it's okay for normal usage.
Yeah, no, and I mean, imagining having more than just the 2 standard games you get with the system, I couldn't imagine just playing through all of that every time. It just becomes a bit much, and it'd be way better if you could just at the end of the day, no matter how many you got, you could play through them all and clear it out that way. So
yeah, that would be nice.
That would be nice.
But yeah, no, you had some good Street Pass stuff there, so that was great. But you also did some gaming as well, I so hear.
Yes, I unexpectedly did a bit of gaming because I just noticed on the program that there was a Smash Brothers Melee tournament amongst many other tournaments. But I thought, you know what, I want to enter the Smash Brothers Melee tournament because you introduced me to this documentary called The Smash Brothers, which I don't know. Do you want to explain a bit about that?
Yeah, so The Smash Brothers is a fan-made documentary on YouTube, and it's essentially about the history of the Smash Brothers Melee community, all the biggest players that ever played, the greatest players, and just the different things that happened over that time period. And it's really fascinating, and it's super cool, and there's loads of interesting moments and things brought up. And one of the early moments that they talk about is this thing which they call No Johns, which, Bally, you can explain that and then go on with why this is relevant to the rest of your story.
Yeah, okay. So No Johns is referring to a guy called John from Texas, and he was one of the first guys where this phrase came from, although I'm sure there's many Johns about. And the idea is that this guy John from Texas, he always, whenever he lost, he'd always complain about losing in some way. So he'd say, oh, my analog stick wasn't working, this A button wasn't working, I didn't get enough sleep, oh, I'm too close to the TV, I'm too far away from the TV, I needed more food, I'm dehydrated. All these excuses as to why he lost. And the joke was that by saying No Johns, you're saying, hey, I don't want any complaints after the game as to why you lost. I don't want any excuses. Don't be
None
a
of
John.
your bitching.
None of your Johning, John. Yeah, so basically I entered this tournament, and basically before the tournament started, I was just wandering around, looking at the competition, you might say.
Sizing them up.
Exactly. And there were like these three guys just sitting down, about to start a warm-up game, and they were like, oh, do you want to come have a practice game? I was like, oh yeah, sure. So I picked Mario. It was the four-person stock match, all versus all, items off and all that jazz, and you had to do specific stages and stuff like that, and it was really good. So yeah, I was Mario, started fighting. I was playing pretty well, actually. I was really surprised that I just sat down, having not played Melee in quite a while. I wouldn't say years, but quite a while. And yeah, just started fighting. I was doing pretty well. I actually got quite a few knockouts against these guys, and I was pretty surprised that I was like keeping up with these guys who are supposedly going to be in this tournament. And eventually, like, there was this guy next to me who was absolutely destroying his controller, like actually just pushing the analog stick right over and doing the smash move with the A button as hard as he can. He's like wrecking his thumbs, mashing them on the controller. It was just ridiculous how hard he was pushing. He was bobbing his head up and down. His tongue was out. He was just like getting way too involved in this game. And he was a good player, I'll admit. And he was playing as Sheik. And actually, because it was a stock match, it got down to 1-on-1, me versus him. And I actually had quite a bit more damage than him, but he just basically mislined up. He mislined himself, and I did a smash move, and I won the game. And I was just like really shocked. And like after the game, he was looking around at the floor, kind of trying not to make eye contact, and then he just starts talking about his controller, and he says, "Oh, my analog stick was it wasn't working and stuff. It wasn't quite the right sensitivity or whatever." And I was just thinking, like, holy shit, like, could this be a better opportunity to like say the idea, emulate the idea of No Johns? And I asked him, like, are you sure it's okay? Are you sure it's not right? And I like took the controller off him, had like a little feel around, and it felt absolutely fine. Like, he was arguing it was way too loose, and it was absolutely fine. So I was just like absolutely shocked that this stereotype in my mind of guys losing and then giving excuses was actually happening in my first ever Smash Brothers experience with the sort of competitive community in the UK. So that was hilarious, really. I went on to play this guy who played as Samus, and He looked pretty pro and absolutely destroyed me first round. He actually went on quite far in the tournament, so I'd not had the best of draws on my first tournament. But you know, I'm not a competitive player. I'm just a casual player who rates himself basically.
I think everyone rates themselves at Smash Brothers.
So yeah, it was a really interesting experience. And it was just hilarious that I had managed to get a guy to be a John from Texas. That was pretty satisfying.
Awesome. Well, great story, Bally. Great way to finish off the episode, and I'm glad that we got some Street Pass chat in. Been wanting to do that for a while, so there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed. As always, we are looking for more listener mail, emails, your feedback, opinions, all that good stuff, which you can send now to the email address nyppquestions@gmail.com. And we would like to hear from you. But we would also like you to follow us and what we do on a daily basis on the social medias. So you can follow us on Twitter and on Miiverse. Bally, where are you to be found on the internet?
I am at Ballyman91. That's on both Miiverse and Twitter. So yeah, follow me on those. I'm posting plenty about Pikmin 3, posting lovely, beautiful pictures you can view at your leisure.
Indeed.
So and I'm also tweeting my random bullshit all the time, so if you want to see that, go for it.
It's great stuff. You got to be reading it all the time.
Oh, it's great stuff.
You can see me on the Twitters at Lordnbz and on Miiverse. Lordnbz is the same name. So yeah, that's gonna be it. That's gonna be us for the show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, just tell us what we did right, and that'll be great. And until next time, thank you very much for listening, and we will see you when we return. Goodbye.